What? Kill the poor, my boy. Welcome to the fourth episode of What in the South AAAH is going on here. And when I tell you it's been a week, my boy, it has been a week. Things were heated this week. But we gathered here again, and I'm going to give you guys a lowdown on it. So let's not even waste any more time and let's get into it. This past week for me served as a reminder of one of two things. One is that as the youth, we need to register to vote so we can ensure that ANC wraps it up. It is time for ANC to wrap it up, and we need to be exhausted of the notion that better the devil you know than the one you don't know. We need a new devil in town. Also, Cyril Ramaphosa has been quiet, my boy. Are we sure that we have a president? Are we sure? Because he's too quiet. For the problems that are happening in this country, he's too quiet. He's too quiet. And the second thing for me is, and it's mostly on the fact that I was watching a sermon last week, which I couldn't even get through, is I don't understand why church has to become such a highly politicized environment. And trust me, I know that religion, like historically even, religion and politics have always aligned, and I'm not saying that preachers or pastors should not speak of the current, but I think it's very demeaning for a pastor to stand in front of a congregation and say that black people should stop blaming apartheid for their current struggles. What do you even mean? What do you even mean? Especially because first up on What in the South AAAH is the Cape Town taxi strike, which to me was proof that there was such a demeaning and very unfounded statement to make when we had thousands and thousands of black people in Cape Town unable to travel back home or even travel to work because of this taxi strike. And at the basis of this, when you're looking at the whole situation, it's because of spatial segregation, where the working people lived very far from the places that they worked in and had to commute for hours on hours to get to the workplace. And that is simply a legacy of apartheid. So it's very careless for a pastor to say, you cannot be blaming apartheid for the things that are happening now. Well, my nigga, the fact that black people cannot afford to live closer to the places that they worked in is because of apartheid. So it's such a careless statement to make, and it made me it annoyed me so much, because what happened to church just being about Abraham, Mary, the garden. And I understand that they're trying to relate to the current problems, but such a statement is a very dangerous statement for a pastor to say. I personally couldn't even get through the whole entire sermon, and I could have lost out on other important things that he could have preached about simply because he made such a careless statement, But more on this Cape Town taxi strike thing is that it is a result because the city of Cape Town implemented a law that any vehicle that breaks the rules of the road will be impounded, because they're finding that the current fining system is not working. And I mean, to some extent, it sounds like a very soundly law to put into place so that taxi drivers, I'm talking to passengers, taxi drivers, any sort of vehicle driver will follow the rules of the road because they don't want their vehicle impounded. But then again, it's kind of why didn't the city of Cape Town put in place measures to ensure that they're ready to deal with the effects of taxi bosses basically disagreeing with this whole law, given the history of taxi violence and oh, like this reaction was almost predictable. And the fact that the city of Cape Town did not put measures into place to ensure that the people that use this form of transportation are not affected, you know. So Cape Town, like, you can never speak of Cape Town and not bring racism into it, because that's where all these racists are situated. Anyway, so given to my first point in this video is that so the EFF held their annual rally the past Saturday. So I think it was August something. It doesn't really matter now. This past Saturday, and my boy, what a spectacular show. Personally, I saw like a clips of it, and personally I loved it. One thing about Julius Malema, like, he is the star of the show. He is convinced that he will be president of this country, and personally I think let's give him a chance. Like, let's give EFF a chance to run this country, and let's see what happens. I mean, if it's really bad, we only have 4 or 5 years of it, and then we can get a new party in. But I loved it so much. So now the problem, which had Jane Steenhuisen going off the rally, my boy, is the fact that he was enchanting. So Julius was enchanting the Kill the Boer song. So the thing about the song is that they've taken it to the High Court, saying that it's a song that basically encourages people to kill white South Africans, to kill white farmers, right? But then it was ruled over as just that it was not in its literal, that the chanting was not in its literal sense. So when Julius Malema sang the song again in the rally, Jane Steenhuisen lost his mind. He lost his mind, saying that Julius Malema is the reason why there's so much division in this country. He's bringing back the old things. Went on a whole thing. But for me, it's like, guys, let's just laugh about it, because this whole chant is not even that serious. And I feel like Julius Malema does it deliberately, because he knows that the white racists of this country will lose their minds. And he got that exact reaction from Jane Steenhuisen. But you know what? Kill the Boer, my boy. The whole chat of this song and this chant, and just like white South Africans responding to it, is such a funny thing to me, because really, guys, it's not that serious. On that note, we're gonna move past that, and we are going to get into the Senzo MEYIWA case. My boy, if you couldn't tell from the previous episode that I'm in it, I am deep inside. I am the submersible in the ocean, my boy. I am the submersible in the ocean, because wow, it is progressing, and I am all for it. So they concluded the cross-examination and re-examination of Colonial Stain, which is a state witness bringing in expert evidence. And I don't understand why he was like almost like indecisive, whether he was indecisive in saying that he was here as an expert, giving expert evidence, especially when he was declared a couple of years back by the court that he was an expert in his field, you know. So I didn't understand that whole thing of his, of not wanting to literally say, I am giving expert evidence and my testimony will need to be taken on the expert level. So then we saw another witness come in this week, Mthokozi Sithwala. He was one of the people that were in the house during the shooting. Can I call it a shooting? On that fateful night, he was one of the people in the house, and he was giving his testimony. And what I can say about this witness is there are so many layers to what he's saying, right? Because now he made a couple of statements, and there is like tiny bits of like inconsistencies in his statements, just in his statements, but also in comparison to what the witnesses that we've seen come to say. So I don't know, this, in terms of the credibility of the witness, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I don't think he's a credible witness. I think there's inconsistencies in his story, but also what we need to take into account is the fact that he is now claiming police brutality. He's claiming that he was assaulted by the police, and at some stage he was forced to make a statement accounting for something that did not happen, and for him to say that something happened that did not happen. He's saying that the police came to his house to take statements, and then they took statements when he was at the beach. And you know, it's just like, I don't think he's a credible witness. Yeah, sure, parts of his story do make sense, and he does account for certain things. Like, for example, in one statement he says that he saw this person wearing a black hoodie. In another statement he's saying that it was dark and he could not see the intruder's attire. So it's such inconsistencies that it's just like, I don't think he's a credible witness, and his testimony might not even fly when we get to the argument stage. But yeah, basically that's what happened this week. The cross-examination of Ntokozo Sithwala, and all the advocates were just bringing out those inconsistencies in his story. And yeah, I'm just of the opinion that he's not a very credible witness because of those inconsistencies. So yeah, in terms of the Senzo MEYIWA case, I know last week I went deep into it, but because there was just so much revelation, and in this week I wouldn't say there was much revelation, but just more of like a witness that's not credible, in my opinion. on a lighter note, and I am actually so dumb for even bringing this, but like, something that I've noticed in the past weeks, like in the past couple of weeks of this trial, is the state's lawyer's chiscop. Oh my boy, that chiscop is shiny. Like day in, day out. At some point I thought maybe it's just the lights, you know, in the courtroom. My boy. Chiscop. Like, I want my future to be that bright, my boy. Let's move past that. Let's just move past. And then, since we are all, as South Africans, we are all soccer fans. We are all in support of Banyana Banyana, and Banyana Banyana made history this past week. So they won against Italy, which I believe is in the top 30 of the world's best soccer teams or something like that. And they won against Italy and will be playing against the Netherlands. And when I say that, it's just so sad to see that there is not as much investment within the female teams in comparison to the male teams, even with regards to resources and just pays, and just like the huge difference between those two. But you know what? Congratulations to the Banyana Banyana team. And you know what, the South Africans, let's support them. I'm just trying to think if I'm including myself in that. It's just that I don't like sports, but like sports is not my thing. I'm not that invested. But you know what? Let's watch and congratulate them where we need to, because they're making history, my boy. They are making history, my boy. So on some international news, I was taken aback when I heard this. So Lizzie and her company, and I believe is the manager, the creative director, are facing a sexual harassment lawsuit from their dancers. Yeah, yeah, there's allegations of weight shaming, sexual harassment, religious, what is it called? Religious harassment. But yeah, obviously not all these charges are being brought forward. But it was very shocking to me because Lizzo stands in publicly, she stands against weight shaming, but behind closed doors, you're weight shaming your dancers and you're mistreating them, and there's allegations of a hostile work environment, but in public you seem to be such a open and like just an advocate of positivity. And you know what, I guess this comes back to the fact that social media is to some extent a big lie, and the fact that you will never really know what people do behind closed doors. Because wow, I was shocked. I was shocked. But anyway, anywho, once we get the lowdown on what what the whole lawsuit proceeds to be, I will definitely keep you guys in the loop. And I don't think she's made a statement about it, but one thing that Beyonce did during her Renaissance tour, she done take out Lizzo's name out of she done take out Lizzo's name out of her lyrics, my boy. You know, shout out to Beyonce's PR team, because wow, she said, I am not getting involved in this. You will not catch me slipping, my boy. You will not catch me slipping, my boy. But anyway, anywho, yeah, that's mostly about it on international news. I don't delve in too much into international news. I just delve into the news that make it like literally big. Just like I said, this week has been a week full of like crazy news, both in South Africa and internationally. But yeah, that's about it. And last but not least, thank you so much for getting this far in this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, tell your friends and family, and their friends and their family, and their friends and their family. Bye. See you in my next episode.